out. A little bit interesting of a pick. And Rengar to follow, which that one's not too much of a shock.
That one's targeted actually at Acadian, known for his Rengar top lane. Likewise, that Gnar is targeted at RF. That's been his pretty much go-to comfort champion when he doesn't get that Hecarim.
Yeah, which we'll have to see if that one's going to make it through the picks and bans or not. Cogmal being taken away. We have seen Alex each play that one, so going to be targeted at him. Want to get that one off the board. But plenty more, power pick champions are available right now. It's just a matter of what they're going to take out. Annie, going to be the second ban coming in from Misfits.
Still relatively off-the-wall bans. These aren't kind of the norms and the standards that we've seen. A lot of power picks left available with only 2 bans left. Curious if we're going to see Misfits ban Hecarim from Purple Side, as that's usually the standard. He's considered the first pick or ban champion every single time, and obviously not having Blue Side priority. Especially with Gnar off the board.
Yeah, it's going to be Rumble taken away, so a bit of a top lane focus here against RF. Don't want those ones coming out. We have seen, pretty fantastic performances from Rumble tonight, so not surprising to see him taken away. He's just quite strong in the current meta. Now, last pick for Misfits. A lot riding on this one. We'll see where they want to ban out. Still have our major trifecta of junglers on the board. Sejuani, Rek'Sai, Gragas available. Looks like Nunu actually going to be taken away, and that's going to spell for a first pick Hecarim for Acadian in the top lane.
We'll see what RF Legendary actually decides to pick out as a counter to that, because typically you would then go to Gnar, because Gnar has some itemization through the Frozen Mount where you can walk down Hecarim and Shyvana, make them a little bit more tolerable in lane, also because you can abuse with the range. I don't actually know where he's going to go this time. Rumble, likewise, also taken off the board, so very well planned from Legendary to make sure that they got the priority top lane pick, and there's not a lot of counter available.
Yeah, formulating this team comp likely going to be a little bit stressful here for Misfits. And, like you said earlier, they're coming off that first loss here at ADCL, so maybe they might have messed with their heads a little bit. So we'll have to see if they're able to get a good draft in and, kind of clear their minds and get back into this and net themselves another victory. Or we'll see if Legendary is able to, inherit that win-loss record from DreamHack, I believe you said earlier, and if they're able to find themselves another win. Looks like we will have Nami and Sejuani coming in for Misfits so far, so Alberto going to be picking up that one in the jungle, so one of our major ones picked up. So still 2 other powerful junglers on the board. We'll have to see what Mimo wants to pick up in this regard. But this is actually our second Nami of the night. A little interesting coming in here for the support roles.
Likewise, Vermilia played this champion quite a few times throughout the Challenger Series. Obviously well known for her hard engaged champions. Nami has the potential there, but also bringing a really nice disengage. Curious that they're not going for the standard. It feels like they're experimenting a little bit with their composition with some of their other picks. Jono is available. Typically that's the go-to disengage champion. Alberto, otherwise known as Crumbs, has seen Jarvan, Nunu, Sejuani, Rek'Sai, so the horde of junglers. Looks like he's going to go for that Sejuani this time around. Callista, insta-locked on the other side for impactful in the bot lane. See what Mimo decides to lock in for the jungle. It is going to be that Rek'Sai, so good early aggressive jungler to try to punish Sejuani's early weak clear.
Alright, so picking these up, I want to see what's going to get coupled with this Callista for...
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. Already out the gate. Alex each locking in the Ziggs. So I think we're 3 for 3 for Ziggs tonight. Pretty popular pick coming in here. So we will see that one locked down, not saving it for the last pick. He's that's confidence right there.
Also has a 100% win rate for the night.
This is true. Well, we'll have to see if it's going to be 100% in the end of everything, or if it's going to come out with a 66-33 split here. Intense running down the clock, trying to decide what they want to lock in.
It's had great showings on that Lucian.
Yeah. Still got top end AD carry to contemplate over here.
So that's in Italy.
And that is, in fact,
or RF.
All
Curious. Right. I mean, obviously, it's also a denial against Bishu, although I wouldn't think that Bishu would look for Nidalee versus Ziggs in the lane, although Prawley actually spoke highly of that. And I always go back to Prawley because he played a ton of Ziggs. He actually spoke highly of this matchup for Nidalee, even though I slightly disagree. He said that if Nidalee was able to land the Spear through Fog of War, because Ziggs is so squishy, it's very punishing. But RF Legendary, no Nidalee player. Bishu, also a no Nidalee player. We were curious what RF Legendary was going to find for the top lane to answer to the Hecarim with his Gnar and Rumble banned away. It looks like he's going to go fall back on old favorites.
Yeah, so Xerath coming out in the mid lane to face off against Alex Each, and actually the Leona coming into the bot lane to couple with this Callista for impactful. A little bit interesting. Wasn't sure if we were going to see that cannon pick up for support, something that synchronizes, quite well with the Fate's Call. Throw her forward with the Slicing Maelstrom, but not quite going to come out this time. So we will see Leona. Still a very powerful lockdown pick, as that Solar Flare for the AoE stun, as well as everything else in her kit to lock down the enemy. So should be a pretty good coupling, but I'm not sure how well that early game synergy is going to work out in the bot lane. Leona is somebody who likes to play quite aggressively and go for all-ins. Couples really well with somebody like Graves. With Callista, she takes a little bit of time. Unless she's having that good of an early game, it takes a little bit of time for her to vamp up and start pumping out that run damage. So we'll have to see how those guys are going to orchestrate that one. But over on the other side, it will be Sivir picked up for Intent. So Sivir Nami versus a Callista Leona in the bot side between these two teams.
And what's important to recognize, especially because we're playing a live patch 5.8, is that itemization changes have gone through to Black Cleaver, obviously the big one, but Blade of the Rune King as well as Hurricane have had the ingredients of their items changed. Daggers now, so there's a little bit more flexibility as far as your build to initially get power spikes before saving up for larger purchases, which really works well for Callista because obviously those are two core items in our build. Likewise, Graves got nerfed very heavily, and typically Graves was kind of the go-to champion if you were going to face Callista down in a 2v2, just because her level 2 power spike is very punishing, and with Graves' big tanky passive and just his absurd burst damage, he was kind of seen as the band-aid solution to that. Sivir doesn't have a great matchup against Callista. Her ultimate on the hunt does help her teammates to get on top of Callista and kind of counteract the mobility that her passive gets her. But as far as the 2v2 lane, it's not very fun for Sivir, so I'm curious if we're going to see a lane swap here.
Might do just that. We're going to have to see RF, I'm sure, with this Nidalee, should be able to play in a 1v2 quite safely and effectively, has that heal and has the spears to net himself some CS. But we're going to have to find out what happens when we get onto the Rift with our last match of the night. Once again, if you're just joining us, it's Misfits. And this time they're going to be going up against Legendary. My name is Achilles. With me is Froskuren. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere, guys, because this game is going to be explosive.
Welcome to AlphaDraft, where esports fans win cash and prizes for drafting top fantasy teams. Your mission is this: every week draft your dream team from the LCS pros in that week's matchups. You'll receive a $50,000 salary cap to select your team. Teams have 6 players: a top, jungle, mid, ADC, support, and a flex position which can be filled by any player. You will also choose the team that you think will play best. Players are scored based on kills, deaths, assists, and CS, and teams win points for Dragon, Baron, and Turret kills. Every week, choose from both free and paid contests that will give away thousands of dollars in cash and prizes. Once games start, watch directly from AlphaDraft and see your stats update live. Most contests have many winners, so check back often to see how you match up against other LCS fans. Good luck, and remember, knowledge is money. Be Alpha.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alpha Draft Challenger League. My name is Achilleos. With me is Froscuro, and we are on to the Rift with our final game of the night. It's going to be Misfits versus Legendary. Legendary on the blue side with Acadian in the top on Hecarim. A Wild Mimo in the jungle on Rek'Sai. Bishu in the mid lane with the Xerath. And the bot lane duo of Impactful Pwn 23 and Low Pally with a Kalista Leona combo.
And on the red side, it's Misfits. It's RF Legendary in the top lane on his signature champion, that in Italy. It's Alberto, otherwise known as Crumbs in the jungle, and Sejuani. Alexish taking the Ziggs, again, almost looking for that 100% win rate if he can take the win here tonight. And then Intense and Ramelia in the bottom with Severe and Nami. Sivir.
Got to flip back and forth between the two.
How do you say Shyvana? What? I say it Shyvana, and I'm told that's wrong.
I say Shyvana like a shiv, like I'm going to stab you with a shiv.
Not Shyvana?
Not Shyvana. Because she's not shy. She's the kind of champion who jumps all up in your face.
This is true. Pretty standard start, though. It looks like a standard 5-point with wards across the board. We've actually saw for a stint there in the Alpha Draft series where teams were consistently invading, getting deep wards to look for a lane swap. That was the question that we asked before the game started, whether Kalista and Leona were going to match 2v2 against Severe and Ramelia. Looks like they are going to find the 2v2. Now, obviously, Severe is protected against Leona if he can time his spell shield correctly. Make sure that he doesn't block the Zenith Blade, but he blocks the Q. The trick is that Crepo like to talk about, especially when facing down Morganas, what also works for Severe, is that you Zenith Blade onto the target you want, and then if your support or your AD carry is standing too close to the target you Zenith Blade to, you just would shift targets. So if Ramelia is ever standing too close to Intense when Lol Pally goes in, instead of just letting that spell shield absorb the stun, just going to turn on Nami, quick damage.
Good amount of outplay potential that we'll have to see in the bot lane if that one's gonna come through. Looks like we do just have a little bit of player lag. We'll get that taken care of right quick, so get right back into the action for this game. The much anticipated game of the night. Don't need this delayed any longer than it already has been. So I'm interested to see if Alexish is going to be able to bring this to 100% win rate tonight with the Ziggs. Something that we've seen just a heck of a lot of tonight, and it's been doing quite well. And we've seen it played in slightly different styles, much more reserved in the first game. So I want to see if he's going to go hyper aggressive with it this time against Bishu, or if he's still going to sit back a little bit and farm up consistently and then toggle on and start pumping out the damage.
I can't imagine that the Xerath versus Ziggs lane is going to be extremely aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm imagining this is going to be a gentleman's agreement or it's just going to be a farm. That said, that is a very dangerous agreement to take with Alexish. Consistently out-farms his opponents. This time around, though, he's facing Bishu.
Yeah, we've seen really fantastic farm numbers coming in from the Ziggs tonight as well. So I'm that much more excited to see Alexish on it and see if he can top them as well. So gonna have to see that one. So looks like the pause has been taken care of. The lag is gone. We will go ahead and resume this game. Looks like we might have Intense and Ramelia starting off over on the Gromp to get that extra experience and gold. Whereas we will have Wild Mimo starting down at the Krugs, so I'm not going to be able to give the same courtesy over to Impactful and Low Pally.
The thing that I'm curious about is going to be the build path for RF Legendary on his Nidalee. Starting the Doran's Blade, that said, he does have 7 AP to his name. It's not uncommon for AP Nidalees to start Doran's Blade because it helps them CS.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to spot that one out. Is starting at the Raptors currently, so fairly standard start for the top laners. We can see Acadian doing the same with the Hecarim over on the other side. So Gromp, yet again taken away by Intense and Ramelia, should give them a little bit of an upper hand to hit that level 2 mark a bit faster. And that could help them capitalize on some aggression down the bot side against Impactful and Low Pally.
It's very important, the level 2 power spike in the bot lane. There's a ton of kill pressure, especially with Lil Poly taking that Ignite. Romelia and Intense do get the level 2. That said, it's Nami severe. It's more of just a courtesy to keep them safe versus the insane engage pressure that Leona gets when she has her Zenith Blade and Q available.
You can see, of course, Impactful has started with that standard Sentinel, so looking for those auto attack trades with low pally to get that percentage damage out, as well as just that initial safety early on. Now has hit that level 2 mark, so going to have the Rens coming in. Meanwhile, on the top side, you can see Acadian taking a bit of harass here from RF, who's using that ranged advantage. Throw out those spears as much as he possibly can.
He trapped up the Raptor camp, which allowed him to get those pots and the mana pot for the sustain, and actually looking for the kill.
Yeah, throwing out a huge amount of damage. That's going to send Acadian wandering right back underneath of his tower.
But what RF Legendary is doing is he set up the traps on the Raptor camp, killed the Raptor camp with the traps, immediately back, burned his teleport so we would bring sustain and mana regen to the lane. And then what he does is he auto attacks, and then he immediately walks into the brush to drop creep aggro, and then stands in the back of his caster creeps to zone off Acadian to the fullest extent. And just like that, he burned his teleport to get into the lane to give him sustain, and now forces the teleport burn from Acadian after he forces him out of the lane.
Really good stuff there from RF so far. Acadian just doing what he can, chugging on potions, trying to stay in this lane as long as possible, but already beginning to fall behind a little bit in CS, whereas everybody else is fairly even. You can see yet again Acadian comes in to try to get some minions killed here and just gets poked right back out. Only 2 charges left of that crystalline flask. Chugging those ones out.
I think Impactful may be a little bit new to his specters. He's just got a party behind him.
Yeah, they're just kind of hovering around. I mean, I guess they could spot a gank from the Tri-Brush, but by that point, be too little too late.
He has full vision that no one is ganking him from behind his tower. We're pretty clear on that one.
Maybe it's a next level mind game and he's trying to bait Intense in to get those.
He wants to the 10 gold? Yeah, I see it.
He's like, come get these minions if you dare.
Speaking of daring, do you look at Crumbs right now on the map, invading onto Rek'Sai? This isn't typically something we see with Sejuani, although she has finished her initial clear, backed, and gotten her jungle item, so definitely a little bit tankier. Walks into the jungle, doesn't get anything, nor places deep vision, but just the confidence right there. Obviously able to walk into the top side of the map because RF Legendary is just steamrolling Hecarim right now in the top lane. But meanwhile, mid
lane on the Bishu. That satchel charge is not going to connect. They will just throw out a little bit of damage. Not going to find too much else, but a flash down for Bishu. And for the very immobile Xerath, that leaves him a bit susceptible to another gank by Alberto. We can see Low Pally going forward, but taking a huge amount of damage on the backside of that exchange. So nicely traded out by Intense and Romelia. Doing a good job here.
Romelia doing a fantastic job making sure that she stood across the lane from Intense, so Lil Poly didn't have anywhere to turn with his stun, had to just feed it into the spell shield, and took way more harass than he had planned for.
Yeah, it does have those biscuits, so he's
and also has the relic proc.
Shield. Yeah,
whereas,
so he's going to be safe for a little bit in that lane, but has to be careful to not go, too ham down there. RF actually taking a good bit of damage from the Rampage from Acadian as he goes in, actually laying down a ton of damage, still has that Ignite as well to rely on. We'll have to peel back, but RF with that Nidalee should be able to just go ahead and throw a couple heals on himself. Keep himself in the lane for a little bit longer, but going to be running out of mana quite soon. Going to have to play this a little bit more carefully and start respecting the damage output that this Hecarim does still have.
Well, RF had the initial lead. Obviously, early levels, Nidalee has more abilities than other champions just because she now has her Cougar form available to her at level 1. Obviously, also abusing his range. But now that Acadian is level 6, has all of his abilities available, as well as the Kill Summoner, he's much scarier of an opponent, and the tides will slowly start to turn in this lane. It's going to be curious and be very dictating what RF decides to itemize and what kind of path he goes for on this Nidalee. If maybe he goes for a scaling AP, then he's really going to lose his lead here. But here comes the first back.
Yeah, so we will get a little bit of a telling on what he wants to get.
It's a Phage. He's going for the Trinity.
All right.
Or,
Yeah, it's likely going to be the Trinity Force getting picked up by him, so still looking to play pretty aggressively here. You can see he has teleported back into lane, immediately trying to throw some extra harass onto Acadian. Mimo getting ready to roam his way up top. That could be potentially dangerous for RF. That is a very elusive Nidalee with the lunges and the flash, but we'll have to see if they're able to lock him down. It doesn't look like it. He went into the tunnel system, wasn't able to find it. So RF will be safe for the time being, likely going to try to throw down a ward and maybe a couple traps in those brushes to really spot out those ganks for the future.
we talked about the gentleman's agreement of farm in the mid lane, Xerath versus Ziggs, and how that's not where you want to be against Alexish. He's proven again and again in the AlphaDraft Challenger Series that he is the master of farm, especially as RF dives Acadian top lane. But 75 to 54 CS, so already built up a 20 CS discrepancy in that mid lane at 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Will he get it? Oh, no.
Oh, almost taking it away with that nice forward ward place, but unfortunately, poor Alexish not going to be able to steal that one away. The Mega Inferno bomb will be down, and Bishu picks up a blue buff. Alps on the other side looking to go ahead and acquire his own with the help of Alberto. So, going to be a lot of skill shots getting tossed out in this mid lane now. Might see a little bit more action, but more than likely still going to be a little bit of a farm fest as Bishu tries to catch back up.
With the itemization of the Phage, we talked about how RF is going to continue to have the dominance in this lane, especially as early on Acadian really only has his Ninja Tabi available to him, as well as a Ruby Crystal.
Yeah, a bit further down in that regard. Not gonna do him too much good when these spears start doing a decent chunk of damage. Those Ninja Tabi just gonna help mitigate those auto attacks. We can see Misfits though starting up the first dragon of the game. Lopali's playing a little bit forward, and actually Mimo just gonna go to the top side with the Void Rush, not looking to go try to contest this one. That the presence of the Leona is enough to stave them off the dragon for now. Impactful gonna pick up a pink ward for his trouble.
I think another issue is that they didn't have eyes on Mimo, so they heard the Rek'Sai ult, although Flash Burn in the top lane has Onslaught of Shadows, doesn't connect with it. But they heard the Rek'Sai ult, they just didn't see where Mimo was going, so they backed off the dragon, assuming that Mimo was going to apply pressure there. Now that they see him in the top lane, though, we'll see where they go.
Yeah, it looks like RF just going to go ahead and have to peel off this turret. Doesn't want to stick around underneath of there. Alberto is wandering his way up top. Right now, this is a little bit questionable. He does get spotted out by that ward. Good sense by Alberto. He goes ahead and spots that one out, but meanwhile in the bot lane, that Solar Flare connects onto Intense. He's being taken quite low. The Ren stacks are there. Shield pop. They throw Lopali forward with the Fate's Call. A huge Boomerang Blade, though, ripping off the health numbers. Vermilia trying to get the kill. Not going to be able to find it. Forced to flash backward. Quite nicely. Meanwhile, on the top side, RF get that Onslaught of Shadows comes through. Mimo goes in, gets the knock up. The Ignite is ticking. He's throwing out as much damage as he can, but it's not going to be enough. Mimo finding the first blood against RF in the top side. The Nidalee does fall. Alberto arriving just a little bit too late.
All of those resources top lane eventually pay off. RF punished for his over-aggression. Mimo third ganks the charm, finally gets it in. Unfortunately, Misfits, Crumbs, and the top lane are unable to trade any sort of objective across the map. Alexish also burned his Mega Inferno Bomb in the bot lane, attempting to find a snipe on Lol and Impactful.
Wasn't able to find that. It's the Intense still sticking it out here, trying to get some forward pressure in on this turret, doing a pretty good job. Also has a little bit of a CS lead, but this wave's crashing into the tower. And Impactful with that Ren should be able to pick up these minions with relative ease, but Intense is getting some free damage in on this tower. You can see Lopali does not want to go in. Knows that his stun's just going to get spell shielded out, and Vermilia could get set up for a perfect bubble onto him.
Both junglers now starting to rotate towards the bottom side of the map. Ping's going down. Glacial Prism is available.
Yeah, this could be a pretty explosive fight. One kill up so far for Legendary. Trying to make that more. Alberto waiting in the wings. That Tri-Brush is pinked out. It's not going to get quite spotted out by that one, but there is that forward brush in the bottom river. You can see that's going to be the Fates Call thrown forward. Low Pally stunning up Intense, followed by the Solar Flare. But they go ahead and get a kill on opponent 23. Now Intense getting sniped out. Mimo will find that kill. Bishu with that roam down, doing a pretty good job supporting his team. So they go ahead and trade 1 for 1, picking off both AD carries. Very nicely played in that regard. Mimo finding his second kill of the game. Alberto, though, still playing forward. Low Pally quite low. Has to flash out. Alberto flashing forward, trying to get the fatal damage. Can he get it? Doesn't look like it. Gonna have to peel off of this one. So Low Pally flashed, burned out, but gets Alberto's for it and walks out with his life.
Beautiful roam from Bishu. Likewise, because he didn't really lose anything. AlphaDraft was back. There's no item discrepancy between them. It's not like Bishu lost the chance to go back and spend his gold and lose out to having equal battle stats because they both have Athenes and picked up a free kill. Meanwhile, in the top lane, speaking of itemization, Acadian now has the Phage available to him, taking quite a bit of poke from RF Legendary here, but really starting to bully this Nidalee back. So it appears that this gank initially that Mimo took in the top lane has given favor back to Acadian, but Mimo looking for more.
Yeah, he's waiting in the wing, can use that tunnel system to get over the wall. Acadian has the Onslaught of Shadows available, uses it, catches RF Legendary, but he veers straight into the tower. Acadian will take a couple shots for his trouble. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Intense finds the tower, uses on the hunt. A very nice juke back, dodges out the Zenith Blade. Now they engage onto Pony, goes down. Remilia finding that kill. Now Low Pally getting knocked up by the bubble. Intense gonna make mincemeat out of him as they go ahead and rip through with these boomerang blades, finishing him off. That's a 2-1-1 Sivir and a very nice timing by Remilia to show up and help get that kill.
That was a beautiful 2v1 by Intense right there. And that was kind of the question that's been answered over the last few games is Misfits, obviously, it's all about Crumbs and AlphaDraft, but Intense recently has really stepped up, especially in tandem with Remilia, to make these big plays like that. We've seen it on Lucian. It's nice to see it on Severe. Great sidestep.
Yeah, really good. A predictive move there to just juke back and not get caught out by that Zenith Blade. Had he done, had he gotten caught by that one, certainly would have gone down before Remilia could have arrived to save his life. So really, just good awareness coming in there. Meanwhile, Alberto completely going to whip that Glacial Prison as they try to go in on Acadian, but he's trading damage back onto RF, trying to finish him off, but he's not going to be able to find RF on the run. Throws out that spear. It's not going to connect. He's still trying to play quite far forward. The Mega Inferno Bomb isn't going to connect either. Alberto still going deep. Will find the kill this time. They take down Acadian in the top side. This is Misfits coming right back into this game.
Swinging and missing the Glacial Prism. Doesn't matter. Was able to find the proc anyway, but Bishu and Low Pally looking for a roam. Will Crumbs get out?
Low Pally playing quite far forward. Right of the Arcane is popped. RF not going to get hit by those. Intense finding that kill. Now Bishu going to have to be on the run. But look at Remilia pinching in from the side. Going to go ahead and slow him out. The tidal wave with a flash over the wall to knock him up in the air. RF's going to find that kill. Not going to take fatal damage. Bishu just not coming up strong enough. RF netting himself a much needed kill on top side.
How do you think Legendary feel right now, getting the counter gank from Misfits bot lane? You know they had no idea that Intense and Remilia were going to appear in the top side to take down this tower. Fantastic rotation from Intense and a great aggressive play from Remilia to find the chain CC, the flash over the wall and the tidal wave to chain the bubble.
Yeah, really aggressive and great play coming out from Remilia. Interesting to see her play on this Nami. Somebody that, the type of champions we see her play a lot in the past and really excel on. The Nautilus, a big one. Does a really good job of peeling, but showing that even with the Nami, with the tidal wave, and with the bubbles, doing such a good job at just controlling the enemy's placement and just locking them down for the rest of the team to get in and take those kills. So Remilia truly a master of the support here, it would seem.
The first time that I saw Remilia play, she went by the name Yuno, and it was when I was casting EPS for the ESL, and she was, I think, subbing for Curse Academy at the time, played Nami. Knew nothing about the player, but just saw this amazing mechanical proficiency, and like you said, she is known for those hard aggressive champions, namely Thresh, but has always had a great performance on this champ, and it's a shame that people don't recognize that she plays more than just Thresh, and she's certainly shown that on the Misfits lineup. Janna, Nami, Thresh, Nautilus.
Yeah, combined with Intense, they've had such great synergy in the bot side, and that's just showing, with Misfits' record so far here at ADCL, and it's showing right here in this game as well, as they established themselves with a pretty significant lead, 4.1k gold in their advantage, a Dragon on the board, as well as 4 kills up. Intense, though, Getting caught out here. A huge amount of change CC come through the tidal wave as well, but Bishu has the right of the arcane snipe, will take him down. Meanwhile, RF going aggressive against Acadian. That spear not going to connect, but not sure if it's going to matter too much. He actually has to use the onslaught of shadows to get out alive. Spear going to go through, not going to connect though. So he will be able to get out alive, but RF starting to stick it to the pony, laying out the damage with that Trinity Force completed.
And exactly, that's really the big swing of power. It's that the Trinity Force is completed on Nidalee, whereas poor little pony just completes a Sheen. So again, we'll see a swing of power as more items start coming in for Hecarim. It's going to be about what these two champions are going to do for their teams, because obviously the Onslaught of Shadows, the hard engage for Hecarim, the fact that he can pretty much choose and force an engagement whenever he wants, versus the split push mobility skirmish power of RF, and how these two different champions are going to be used for these teams. Mimo, though.
Yeah, sitting there with the tremors, spotting out RF. Not going to be able to find anything, though. Sweeping out just to see if maybe that was warded. Not going to find anything, though, for his trouble. Alberto playing quite far forward. Looks like they will be able to catch this ward. So getting some very good forward vision here. You can see Misfits. Lots of wards around that bot side of the but RF playing quite far forward, gets popped up in the air, but here comes Alberto. Gets the Glacial Prison, Low Pally on the side, not going to connect with the Zenith Blade. Right of the Arcane is thrown out. A couple of those going to connect, but RF looks like he may be able to waltz out of this one with his life. That Onslaught of Shadows not available for Acadian to close the distance and get the kill, so RF going to go ahead and recall safely. Meanwhile, some pressure being applied down to the bot side by Intense. Will be met by Impactful, though, to stave that off. But Bishu in the mid lane trying to defend this tower. Alberto going in deep. He's a pretty tanky Sejuani, and Intense is from the side. The Boomerang Blade goes through. They find the kill and the tower. Misfits coming up huge across the board. Might be able to pressure this tier 2.
We suspected that this would be a long haul game just because we see the zigs. It pretty much tells us that this should go to 45 minutes. Although, hold on, RF may be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, the Solar Flare connects with the slow Acadian. This time the Onslaught of Shadows about to come off cooldown. He uses it over the wall, will find RF. That's going to be the Zenith Blade to follow up with a stun. Rampage for the kill. Acadian getting us first on the board, but look at this rotation. The bot side,
Exactly.
Misfits using that distraction, picking up a tier 2 tower in the bot lane.
And this feeds perfectly to what I was covering before RF Legend got picked up. All those resources expended top lane means another free tower. Yes, Acadian will find the top tier tower, but Misfits are doing such a great job snowballing this game and really cementing their gold lead by making these really crisp rotations.
Solid pickups across the board for them. Just going to extend that gold lead ever so slightly. You can see 29.8
discrepancy.
Oh, the mid lane, yeah. Wow.
170 to 219 now. We talked about how Callista, Intense and Remelia rotated up into the top lane to find that counter gank before. Effectively, the rotations were like this. Take bottom tower, rotate top, get the counter gank, take top tower, rotate mid, take mid tower. But in the rotation between the top tower and the mid tower, Alex Each went bottom and covered that lane and picked up a ton more CS.
Yeah, and wow, speaking of ton, look at this ton of damage that Low Pally is suffering. The tidal wave comes through. To no avail, Alex Each already finishing him off. Taking out Low Pally, all he wanted was that pink ward, man. And now on the hunt has been popped. Alberto playing quite far forward. Looks like they're going to find Acadian as he gets taken down. Alberto getting that kill. The bubble not going to connect on the Bishu, but he's retreating underneath the tower, but to no avail. Intense finds the kill. Now Mimo gets the pop-up, and he goes down to RF. That's a 4 for 0. And they're going to take the tier 2 mid tower to boot. Impactful, the only member alive on the team right now. Not sure if he's going to be able to try to hold them off here as they go in deep underneath the tower. The surrender vote comes out, and Impactful will fall to Alex Each at the last moment. Misfits coming up huge with a surrender vote at 21.5 minutes.
From a 55-minute game to a 22-minute game. Misfits, again, we thought that this was going to be the long haul. Xerath versus Ziggs, all about the wave clear. RF Legendary taking out the Nidalee. No, they just snowballed this game so quickly, rotating through every single objective. And yeah, Alex, Crumbs, RF, all of them looked impressive. But I really think, again, Intense and Remelia coming up huge. Every single tower kill was on their backs.
5, 2, and 5 to finish out the game on the Sivir. And Remelia involved in 10 of the 12 kills for the team. Is playing like a powerhouse. Doing a really good job with the Mermaid, a champion right there. But unfortunately, that is going to be the last game of the night for us. Misfits moving forward now with a 10-1 record, still sitting at the top of the standings here at the AlphaDraft Challenger League. But we will have to see if, maybe they'll be able to suffer another loss tomorrow night when we come back for our last day of week 3 here. But for us here, for myself, Achilleos, and Froscorin, and the rest of the team here for ADCL, we bid you guys good night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then 4 p.m.